And one more time, we are back again.
It's us, the Horror Guys.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we've got 4 movies and a short for you.
Episode
as always.
214.
That's a lot of episodes.
A lot of movies.
A lot of movies, yeah.
We're going to talk about them.
We are. Before we get into any of the movies...
What? You've got an
announcement to make.
Tell us.
We've got a new book out. And it's free if you're listening here.
It is.
The Horror Guy's Guide to the Halloween Films. It's available now. It is exclusively at our web store. Go to horrorguysshop.com, which should forward you to our web store. Or you can go to brianshell.com, my name, /B for books, /Halloween, and it's right there.
The Halloween movies are surprisingly complex in their timeline.
Yeah, they are.
Because it started out with 1 and 2, which were, straightforward, and then 3 had nothing to do with the first 2, and then a few more sequels, and then they kind of jumped and they pretended the sequels didn't happen, and then Rob Zombie's 1 and 2 is in there.
Alternate reality.
And Brian explains it all for you in his book.
Along with the usual synopses and commentary and trivia. And anyway... it's listed on the site there for $1.99, but here's the trick.
Halloween.
It's free if you use the coupon code Halloween. Yes, HALLOWEEN, spelled the usual way. Coupon code. Don't pay for it. It's free.
It's free.
And there's also a link there to buy it in paperback, but you got to pay for that one.
The e version is free.
Yeah, but this is a very short book. It's there more of a giveaway to see what the Horror Guys Guides are about. It's our little promo book. So it's marked as low as it can be as a paperback. But if you want it as an ebook, it's free for your Kindle or iPad or computer or whatever. Halloween. You can even read it in your web browser. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Halloween. Also, I mentioned paperback books. And all our paperbacks, we've just added them to a company called Lulu. Previously, the paperbacks were mostly available on Amazon, and believe it or not, some people don't care for Amazon too much.
Some think that Amazon is an evil empire.
They do.
And if you're one of those folks, you got an alternative.
Go to lulu.com, search for Brian Shell, my name, and all the books will come up. And better than that, if you use the promo code February 15, the word February spelled out and the number 15, you'll get 15% off any or all of the books there.
Happy Valentine's. It's our Valentine gift to you.
It is. Which reminds me, 4 years ago, this week, 4 years ago, in episode number 8,
we looked at some Valentine movies.
We did. We watched the movie Valentine from 2001. David Boreanaz and a serial killer killing off people on Halloween.
With a Cupid mask that he was wearing.
Oh,
the killer.
It was.
Yeah.
And we also watched My Bloody Valentine from 2009.
Which has been done twice. My Bloody Valentine from 1981. There was an original. This was the remake.
Was that the one with the guy in the mine shaft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mining operation. Mining gone bad. Somebody gets killed.
The guy from Supernatural in the mine shaft.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah, Jensen Ackles.
I didn't look it up. I'm trying to go from memory here. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, we've got movies for you this week.
All right.
What do we got this week here today?
Well, we got a newish one called The Lair. And we have an international film, Wreck, short for record. Constantine, the DC kind of horror film. And back near the beginning of almost where it all began, Friday the 13th, Part 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, way back.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about those in just a minute. Also, if you go to the horrorbulletin.com and check out our newsletter, we've got a bonus movie there for you this week. Just one bonus movie this week.
Cult of the Cobra.
We got slacking on our bonus movies.
From 1959.
Yeah, which was black and white. A woman turns into a cobra, maybe, or maybe not. That's the story. You figure it out.
Yeah, and it was both surprisingly good and surprisingly kind of just straightforward. And it was both special and not special at the same time. It's kind of, you need to see it for yourself.
Well made, but not really super impressive.
It is really well made, but it's a simple story and kind of predictable, but good cast. And yeah, they had some nice touches that were very good in it.
Alrighty, how about we get started with a real movie this week? The Lair from 2022, directed by Neil Marshall, written by Charlotte Kirk and Neil Marshall, stars Charlotte Kirk, Jonathan Howard, Jamie Bamber, remember him from Galactica?
I do.
Hour and 36 minutes. Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, this one is a little hit and miss with a strong cast capable of surviving some brutal action. There's some descent connection here, and it's got that same vibe of a strong woman surviving underground.
Neil Marshall, the director, was the director of The Descent.
Fighting off monsters. And, yep. There's some creepiness and tension. The military aspects and procedures and accents had some issues that tended to take us out of the moment. It's more entertaining than not, but it's not stellar.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, it was entertaining enough. I don't regret watching it. I
No.
give it about a 6 or a 7. It was
Give
decent.
It a solid 7.
It wasn't great.
But it was entertaining.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are told that in April 2017, the United States Air Force deployed a Moab bomb, the
That's
largest.
the mother of all bombs.
The largest non-nuclear weapon in its arsenal. Official reports state that the bomb was used to destroy a key insurgent stronghold in the area. Unofficially, something else may have happened. This is the story of what really happened. And then credits roll. All right. Well, 2 days later, there were jets flying over Afghanistan, and Captain Kate Sinclair notices a missile launch beneath them. The two pilots are forced to eject. Her wingman is shot down by insurgents, but Kate kills some of the baddies before they get hurt too. Well, Kate sees the guys who shot down her plane pursuing her across the desert, so she ducks into an abandoned Soviet mine to hide. With the men closing in behind her, she climbs down a ladder into a deep abyss.
Spoiler, it's not just a mine.
No. It's at the bottom of the shaft. She starts exploring the Soviet tunnels using her glow stick. Kate finds a long-dead scientist in his lab. One of the Afghans finds a light switch and turns it on. Well, there's a firefight, and the lab gets shot up pretty badly, including those big tanks with bodies inside. What could happen?
We're going to find out.
Well, Kate gets away by crawling through the drains. One of the Afghans remained behind. You call them Afghans? Is that right?
Well, they're in Afghanistan, and they're Afghanistan guys, so yeah. They're specifically, they're,
Afghanis?
Oh, you mean like...
What is the word for Afghan people?
Afghani,
Okay.
I believe.
Well, one of them remains
one of the
behind
one of
and
the
examines
guys.
the creatures from the tubes.
One of the people who live in Afghanistan.
Yes. One of them isn't dead, but soon the Afghani is. Very quickly, Kate's the only one left alive. She climbs up and out of the bunker and sees that the monster has done the same, but she slams and locks the doors. Well, she's soon picked up by some Allied soldiers, and she insists that they can't stay here, but makes no effort to explain to the others.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where all you'd have to do is take a minute to explain.
There's a monster right behind me, but no, we're not going to say. There's no time to explain.
No, we have to go. There's no time to explain.
And then she goes and takes a nap. Oh, well, when she does finally say what happened, Major Finch doesn't believe a word of her story. But he calls military intelligence and reports it anyway. Sergeant Hook then tells the story of the group's past. They're all losers and misfits. Have you ever seen a military company that wasn't a bunch of losers and misfits?
Hilarity ensues.
Yeah, it always goes like that.
It's like MASH.
Yeah,
It's just pure comedy.
Kabir Rahimi, a captured insurgent, was there at the bunker as well, and he corroborates Kate's story. Hook and some of the soldiers start listening. Meanwhile, down below, more of the creatures break out of their cells. Then they bust the doors open.
Now you've done it. You riled them up.
Sergeant Oswald of the SAS arrives, and he expects troubles and plans to hang around. The monsters attack after nightfall. Between the night vision and the machine guns, several dozen alert soldiers can't hit anything. Or maybe they do. These things don't die easily.
Shouldn't go much further.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to stop.
Because stuff happens.
It's the army versus the monsters.
It is.
Well, Jamie Bamber sounds like a British hillbilly.
His accent
He's
Coulda
very
used-
British in
coulda
real
used-
life, and
oh,
he's
he
doing
is,
this
yeah. He's British for
southern
real.
southern accent, and
And
boy, he does it
and
badly.
It ends up being a mishmash. Yeah.
He definitely needed a better voice coach for this part, as did most of the other actors. I don't know where this was made, but I think it was a whole bunch of people faking southern accents.
It was a mishmash and a strongly Britishy
Yeah,
cast. And yeah, their accents were a bit,
Plain
could use more
Americans.
coaching. Yeah.
How long would a known kleptomaniac last in the army anyway? One of the characters, everybody knows she's a kleptomaniac, and she steals stuff right and left.
Well, they just go with it. You know.
They wouldn't. You'd be out of the army so fast, especially when your superiors knew about it.
Well, when something comes up missing, they know who to go to.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt the military would have much patience for that sort of thing. But none of the soldiers really act like soldiers. Captain Kate especially. The creatures are obviously just men in rubber suits with occasional special effects when their tongues shoot out. They're not bad, but they're not especially impressive either.
They're pretty creepy.
This was the same director who did The Descent, and there are similarities. A strong female lead who wanders around in the dark tunnels and fights monsters. And that much, the tunnels bit was decent, but pretty much everything above ground was kind of abysmal.
It wasn't the greatest, like we said.
It has its good parts.
A 7
It
or
has its
so.
bad parts.
Yeah, an 8 at moments. Yeah.
All right, one I think we're probably going to agree on completely is 2007, Wreck. Directed by Jum Balaguerro and Paco Plaza. Written by those guys. Stars Manuela Velasco, Ferran Terraza, and Jorge Llama-Serrano. Hour and 18 minutes.
This is an international film,
Spanish.
Spanish,
Yes.
and this was remade some years later.
What was the remake called?
I think that was called Wreck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have not seen that one.
I think that I saw the remake and I had not seen the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one starts out calm, spoiler free. This one starts out calm and normal and goes into an adrenaline rush that barely lets up until the movie ends. It's a very fast-moving found footage that's really well done. It's almost hard to keep up and read the subtitles at the same time at some points. Yeah, this is a bunch of people from Spain speaking Spanish, and they start rattling off the words pretty fast.
Oh, the remake was
of talking.
Quarantine.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I've seen that.
okay, yes.
All right, well, what happens?
I don't know because I've lost my notes. I'm looking up stuff on IMDb trying to remember what the remake's title was. Well, TV reporter Angela records her show from the fire station. This is a kind of while you were sleeping documentary that they do of stuff that happens at night. And so they're hanging out at a fire station. And she interviews some firemen, and it's kind of boring and it's mundane. And yep, here's the.
It's kind of like she's
equipment
one
and-
of those first-time
you know.
reporters that they send out for the fluff jobs,
Yeah,
for filler material.
personal interest kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's nothing is happening when it's a fire station with no fires. But finally, they get a call, and Angela and her cameraman Pablo get to go along. Alex, Jose, and Manu are on the fire truck with them. The call said that there's someone trapped in a building, and the neighbors heard screams. Well, the firemen get into the locked apartment where an old woman is said to have fallen. Well, they get inside. The old woman is standing at the end of the hallway, and as the men approach, they see her jumping around screaming. And the building superintendent tries to remove the cameraman, and the old woman bites him on the face and neck. Just attacks
Wait,
him.
what?
Yeah.
Chomp.
Chomp, yeah. She's really gone berserk, yeah. Well, the firemen carry the injured man downstairs, but someone outside won't allow them to leave. The gate is locked. The health authorities have decided to seal off the building for health concern reasons.
Might have been nice if they'd have told them that before they went in.
Yeah, and loads of cops have blocked off the street. Well, boom, splat. Suddenly one of the firefighters falls down the stairway shaft and is severely injured. He's been bitten as well. And there's much screaming and the camera falls, and some time passes. They won't let these injured people out to be taken away in ambulance. They insist the building is sealed. Well, the Angela and Pablo, the crew, the two-person TV people, they go upstairs to investigate. There's a different hysterical, angry woman who runs toward the camera, and the police shoot her. Manu and Alex find a back door, but it's sealed off as well. And then everyone's cell phones stop working. They've cut them off completely, and they tell them that they are under forced quarantine, and they start sealing the building in plastic. This is not good.
No.
And they're all stuck inside. Yeah. Well, Angela interviews several of the people trapped in the building, so we get to know these people that have doomed written on their forehead. Gillum is a medical intern. He works on the 2 injured men, but he's no doctor yet. And there's a couple old people who called in the woman's screams in the first place. One woman says she's making plans to sue. An old man is racist. He blames the Chinese people that live in the building. One little girl is sick and misses her dog, who is at the vet. And so, we get to know these people a bit. And then a health inspector arrives in a self-contained suit.
You ever seen any of those quarantine plague movies? He's wearing one of those.
Head to toe, yeah. Pablo climbs up. The camera guy peeks in through a window, sees that they have handcuffed the injured men to their beds, and they're working over them. Well, the injured policeman attacks the inspector and Gillum. They've gone berserk, too. The suit protects him, but Gillum, when he gets bitten, he immediately starts going berserk. So it's apparently some kind of contagious thing. The health inspector says they got a call yesterday from a vet. A sick dog went berserk and had to be put down. Guess whose sick dog that was?
Yeah, but it's kind of a leap between a sick dog that attacks the other dogs and a zombie outbreak in a building.
Well, it was a highly unusual disease that the dog had.
All right.
Yeah. Well, the little girl attacks her mother, and they chase the girl upstairs, and they notice that the old woman from before is gone. A young policeman gets bitten. Things get out of control. More so at that point. Some of the zombies start eating people, and Angela freaks out. The old man knows out of a way out of the basement through there's a workshop, and he tells the others about it. But before long, it's just Angela, Pablo, and Manu. Manu doesn't last much longer. Pablo and Angelo run upstairs to the disused penthouse as all the zombies pursue them upstairs. And they find all kinds of weird stuff in there, which is a mix. That was a weird set. It's a mix of religious and scientific stuff. And there's a big poster about possession and articles about one specifically possessed girl. Then Angela finds an audio tape that explains everything. The man there was trying to find a vaccine against a thing he calls possession, but it mutated and acts like the flu. The girl he was treating is incurable and beyond all hope, and he mentions locking her up. Pablo finds someone scary in the attic, and then his light breaks. And they're working on night vision cameras, and it gets even creepier. Things go downhill from there.
It's pretty bad when it goes downhill from there.
Yeah. This was very creepy. Lots of good jump scares, lots of good tension. Well, it builds and keeps building.
Yeah. Starts off very slow and mundane with the firemen's daily boring lives, but it gets crazy pretty quickly once it gets starting. There's a lot of frantic screaming and fast talking in Spanish, and it's all very hectic in this found footage style film.
And it was interesting, I thought, learning, trying to learn a bit of Spanish. And it tends to be, American Mexican version of Spanish is what we're kind of focused on, what the lessons are. And this is Spanish, in Spain.
Mexican Spanish and Spain Spanish are not exactly the same.
Yeah, it's not. It was interesting how different it is. And, you could pick out things here and there, but boy, that's different. It's a very different dialect.
Well, surprisingly, they kind of explain everything at the end, which we didn't really expect from this kind of a film. The creature effects and gore are well done, but the way things accelerate relentlessly is probably the best feature of the film.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So it's sort of a possession plague?
Well, he thought it had supernatural elements. I think it was just a super disease, maybe.
It's
we
not
don't know.
perfectly explained, yeah.
There's 3 more sequels, where they go into more.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Sequels to this or sequel to the
Sequels
remake?
to this, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we watched a short film called Death and the Winemaker, just released this week, 2023. Written and directed by Victor Jacquier, stars Casey Motet Klein, Virginia Meisterhans, and Jean-Claude Dreyfus. 16 minutes, 57 seconds. There is a link in the show notes to watch this on YouTube. It's French, animated, subtitled.
I was able to overcome my cartoon bias and enjoy this.
Kevin is definitely a cartoon bigot. He hates
know.
the cartoons.
I tend to not like cartoons, yeah. Well, a young girl cries as her mother dies and asks if this was the fault of the winemaker. The old plague doctor tells the girl about the winemaker, and we get a flashback. It's kind of a fairy tale kind of thing.
Yeah, it is.
Peter the winemaker was working in the fields, and he and Mathilda are an item. He goes and asks her father for her hand, and the old man is skeptical. But his wine is really, really good, and that's hard to resist.
I thought he was going to say, "Oh, okay, your wine is that good."
Yeah, no, he's a rich elitist, and Peter's just a poor winemaker, doesn't want to give his daughter away. But the old man says if the wine is that good, he should be able to give a bottle to the Pope. Which is a long journey away, and he thinks he'll be killed on the trip to Rome and not come back. Problem solved. Well, the trip to Rome does, in fact, happen. He has a little adventure on the way, and Peter falls to his death. However, it seems that even death likes good wine.
Maybe a deal can be arranged.
Death herself. Yeah.
Well, the animated style here is really cool. I thought it looked good.
Mm-hmm.
The music is fantastic, and the voice acting is perfect. I mean, it's in French, so we didn't understand what they were saying, but it sounded really good. Yeah. The idea of trapping death has been done many times before, but the animation here really makes it worthwhile. There are many scenes that couldn't have been done with live action.
They could have, but it would have been expensive and a lot of CGI and a lot of special effects.
Especially the ending
the cartoon,
where
they
death
can just draw it.
comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was neato. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of death, we've got Constantine from 2005. Directed by Francis Lawrence, written by Kevin Broadbent, Garth Ennis, and Jamie Delano. Stars Keanu Reeves, Rachel Weisz, and Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf. 2 hours, 1 minute. Spoiler-free, what happens?
This is based on comics, but it's not necessary to have read them, but to enjoy the movie. It moves fast with a lot of characters and a lot going on. We don't know exactly what's going on or why. It's a bit of a mystery that Constantine is trying to solve. And there's lots of angel and demon action and possession and magic. And that's where it has the horror element.
Okay.
He's not quite a superhero, but almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's DC, so it's superhero adjacent at least.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I saw this when it came out in the theaters.
I did too.
I was not familiar with the character before that, I don't think. I'm never was a big DC fan.
Yeah, I read some of it. Yeah, I'd seen.
You were a
some
big
comics.
Sandman fan. Was that before or after the movie came out?
Constantine. It was before.
Constantine came before Sandman. I know
Constantine came before Sandman. I can't remember. Comics came before or after the movie.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, obviously the character existed because he was in Sandman. But
yeah,
I'm just wondering if the movie came before the comics of Sandman.
Why don't you tell us about it, and I'll do some research.
All right.
Didn't look that up.
Well, in Mexico, a guy finds an old Nazi flag with the tip of a spear wrapped up inside it. He's immediately hit by a car out of nowhere, but that doesn't even slow him down. This spear tip has done something to him.
Mm-hmm.
Credits roll. In Los Angeles, a woman finds her daughter crawling on her ceiling. Father Hennessy calls in John Constantine when he can't handle the problem himself. Constantine then does a full exorcism on the girl using a mirror, which is kind of a neat scene. It's a different way of doing it.
Yeah, it was cool.
It works well, but it's all very, very dramatic and kind of overblown. Afterwards, he finds a drawing of the spear in the woman's room. Chaz, his taxi driver friend, is obnoxious. It's like he's just there to be obnoxious.
He does a good job at it.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah. Angela Dodson goes to confession. She's a cop who killed someone and feels guilty about it. She has a dream that she jumps off the roof of the hospital, through a glass ceiling, and into a pool. Constantine, we are told, has lung cancer. Of all the things he's seen, that's what's going to kill him? Well, Angela is called in to examine Isabel's dead body. Turns out that dream of jumping off the roof was real, but it was Angela's twin sister who actually did it. They're sort of psychically connected. Well, the Mexican with the spear crosses the border into the U.S., and dozens of cows die as he walks past them. Constantine and Angela both go to church at the same time. Angela wants to see Father Garrett to do a funeral for Isabel. He's against it because it was a suicide, but she says it wasn't. Constantine is there to see Gabriel and questions her about the strange demon he encountered, as well as about the cancer and why he's destined for hell. Angela watches security footage of Isabel's death, and she whispers, "Constantine," before jumping. But only once on the tape.
Yeah, she rewinds it, and that didn't happen.
It didn't happen a second time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Constantine is attacked by Vermin Man, a cloud of insects that says he should have minded his own business. The bugs are squished by a passing truck. Ooh. Constantine goes to see Papa Midnight, but his sidekick Chaz can't get in. Everyone in Midnight's place has glowing eyes. I guess it's like a demon bar or something.
Yeah, he's kind of he's a neutral. He insists that he's neutral and his place is neutral and there will be no fighting. But just everybody magic can come hang out there.
Constantine and Midnight talk about demons and rules. Constantine wants to use the chair. Balthazar is there, and he doesn't care for John Constantine.
He's one of the half-breed demons.
Yeah. Angela comes to see Constantine. She knows he's an occult specialist and thinks he may be able to help prove that her sister's death was not a suicide. He's not interested in helping, but then he sees something strange following her and goes along behind her. He explains the contest between God and Satan over seeing who can get the most souls. She thinks that people are evil enough on their own, without help from demons. Suddenly, the two of them are surrounded by flying demons, but Constantine makes them all explode. "I don't think they were after me," John says. They go to Angela's place, and John looks into the eyes of her cat. He's transported to hell, a burning wasteland, and ruined cities of nastiness. He then encounters Isabel there. Yep, she went to hell.
Yep.
Father Hennessy goes to the city morgue and finds Isabel's body there. He touches her to get a reading from her. That's sort of his little superpower. And it really freaks him out. Balthazar comes in, and Hennessy dies under his power. Elsewhere, Constantine explains his powers and origins to Angela. Angela gets called to examine Hennessy's body, and Constantine goes along. Constantine's assistant, Beeman, calls him and explains some of what's going on, but he's killed by bugs before he can say it all. "I know it. I figured it all out. The villain is..."
Yeah, it's one of those
sort of things.
Yes, it is.
Angela admits that she has seen the magical stuff like her sister did, and she wants to go see hell too. So John drowns her in the bathtub. Seemed to me like looking at a cat's eyes would be easier. The bathtub explodes, and she has already been there and seen it. She shows him evidence that Balthazar was the one who killed B-Man. John confronts Balthazar, and they fight. John uses the holy brass knuckles on the demon's face. Well, yeah, that's what you need, holy brass knuckles.
He's got all kinds of good holy weapons and magic things, magic gizmos.
Yeah, Balthazar spills the beans about the spear. Whatever killed the Son of God will begin the Son of the Devil. Angela knows all about the Spear of Destiny. After they leave, Balthazar's boss, we don't see who it is, comes in and finishes him off. Something grabs Angela, and John can't keep up. Now John goes back to Midnight's place and demands to sit in the chair, which used to electrocute people in Sing Sing prison. Midnight then electrocutes John, which gives him a vision of the man with the spear. This is pretty much a very dangerous movie. You got to die to get any information.
Yeah, or nearly die, yeah.
Well, he and an army of half-demons are about to take over the hospital where Isabel died. Angela wakes up in the hospital pool where Isabel was killed. John, Midnight, and Chaz head for the same place. Chaz blesses the water in the cistern. John finds the whole room full of demons, so he sets off the sprinklers, which drenches them in holy water to make their outer skin dissolve.
That was very clever of them.
That makes them more killable, which is kind of messy. Down in the pool, something invisible drowns Angela again, sending her back to hell, where she faces some demons. One gets inside her. John finds her body and does an exorcism to bring her back with Chaz's help. Chaz gets beat up really badly and dies. He was annoying anyway.
So if you're not getting the impression already, there's a lot happens in this movie.
Yeah,
there's
it's a very, very busy movie.
Very action-packed, and it's very dense. Yeah.
I think that might be my biggest complaint with it.
Oh, I liked it. Yeah.
John gets angry and forces the boss to reveal his force of will.
The boss is being invisible, being cloaked, and Constantine does a magic mumbo jumbo, and makes the boss reveal, and poof, it's Gabriel.
She admits that she's been behind all of it. She's jealous of humanity, and plain old insane, too. She attacks John, and John prays for help, which doesn't come.
Or does it?
Gabriel works on Angela, using her to birth Satan's son. Meanwhile, John does a blood ritual of his own, slitting his wrists. And then Satan shows up to collect him personally. He's a sleazy man with tar on his feet. Satan is really eager to get John back home to play with. When John tells him about Gabriel and his son about to come into the world in the next room, he is not amused. Gabriel says she'll smite him in the name of God, but her fists stop before she can strike. Satan snickers that it looks like someone doesn't have her back anymore. Satan then sends his son back to hell and blasts Gabriel. I guess he doesn't want that to happen yet.
No, he does not.
Satan reluctantly admits he owes John a boon. John doesn't ask to be saved. He wants Isabel to be released to heaven. Satan complies. Then John starts to ascend to heaven on his own, but Satan prevents him from going, plunging his hands into John's chest to yank out the cancer. He can't drag him to hell right now, but he can condemn him to live again. It's not exactly a reward. By putting him back in life, Satan thinks he'll get another chance at John later. Yeah, so he's going to heaven, but Satan stops that from happening by saving his life.
Because he wants another chance at him.
Darn it.
That's how much Satan hates John Constantine.
Then they find Gabriel, wings burned away, who is now mostly human. She wants to die and tries to goad John into killing her for revenge. John's not going to play that game. He's got a clean slate again. He punches her instead, telling her that that's pain. Get used to it. All right, well, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of characters, a lot of backstory, and a lot of lore that isn't explicitly explained. This stuff all comes from the comics, of course.
And speaking of the comics, Constantine first appeared in 1985 in the comics, and Sandman was before this movie. Sandman started in 1989.
Okay, so the movie came out after the Sandman appearances.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not really necessary to be familiar with the characters before you go into this. But it probably would help. I mean, Chaz is there, and why is this annoying kid following him around? Was he in the books?
He was.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he's in there. Yeah.
Well, if you're into the angels and the demons side of supernatural horror, this could be a fun one. Satan is especially good here. He's probably the highlight. Still, it's all very rushed, moving from one scene to the other very quickly. I think this would have been much better as like a mini-series.
It could have been.
Spread this very same story out to like 6 hours. Yeah. You'd take some time to, put some detail into it instead of just running from one thing to another.
Spread it out.
It felt like a Doctor Who episode with all the running and the hurrying. Which is my main concern about Doctor Who in the last decade. Too much rushing. Fast talking. Slow down. Tell us what's going on.
Slow down.
All right, so moving on to our final film of the week, we got Friday the 13th, Part 2 from 1981. Directed by Steve Miner, written by Ron Kurtz, Victor Miller, and Sean S. Cunningham, stars Betsy Palmer from the first movie, Amy Steele, John Fury, and Adrienne King, also from the first movie. 1 hour, 27 minutes, trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free.
It's another fun summer for the young people at the camp by the lake. Jason is still becoming Jason here. More human seeming and not superpowered yet. Overall, it's a good slasher romp that moves quickly.
Yeah, we did Friday the 13th Part 1 a couple weeks ago, and if you remember how that one ended, turns out the killer was not who you think it is.
Mm-hmm. In the Part 1.
Yeah. Though the killer was Mrs. Voorhees. There's your spoiler from Part
mom.
1.
Yeah.
And Jason doesn't even appear in that movie, except maybe a questionable little flashy thing at the end that may have just been a dream.
Or a hallucination or something.
Yeah.
But here he's back. He survived. And he's a grown-up. And he's vengeful.
This is Jason.
Yeah.
In his first real appearance. Well, what happens?
We hear footsteps, and we hear the as a man stalks around Alice's house. Alice was the survivor of the previous movie, the sole survivor. Alice is inside dreaming of the ending of the previous film, where Mrs. Voorhees explains everything that happened and why she murdered all those counselors. Alice wakes up. It's probably not the first time she had nightmares about all that. Well, the phone rings. No one's there, so she locks the door. What? Just now she locks the door. The kitchen window is open, which leads us to a feline jump scare. She opens the fridge and finds Mrs. Voorhees' head inside. And then someone sticks Alice in the head with an ice pick. Credits roll.
Well, there's your cameo.
Mm-hmm. She's back, sort of. A young couple comes to the town of Crystal Lake. Crazy Ralph is still around, immediately warns them that they're all doomed once again. That seems to be his job in town. Down the street, someone tows away their truck as they talk on the phone. But it's just a prank. Ted got his buddy Max to make them run to his place. And then the three young people drive down the road to find a chunk of tree blocking their way. She goes wandering into the woods while the menfolk move the log. She finds the old sign for Camp Crystal Lake. And Ted says they call it Camp Blood around here. Someone in the woods watches them. He follows them to the new camp, where all the new counselors are half undressed. A whole slew of new victims for this movie. Terry, Vicky, and Mark, and a whole bunch of generic others get introduced to the other new counselors of the Packanack Lake Resort Counselor Training Center. They're back on the lake at a different spot again. Ginny arrives late, and leader Paul chews her out about it. But
yeah, this is not Camp Crystal Lake.
No.
This is the camp next door.
This is camp next door, yeah, again. We see that they're a couple, too. That night around the campfire, Paul tells the others about Jason, who is supposed to be surviving in the wilderness, now full-grown, living off wild animals. He's kind of a local legend. He tells how Alice, the only survivor, went missing, and now Jason stalks them all, waiting for more revenge. 5 years he's been dormant, Paul warns. He says all creepy-like is the campfire tale, and then Ted jumps out of the woods and scares everybody. Well, enough of that. Camp Crystal Lake is off limits, Paul insists. Let's just all get back to work and forget it.
You knew somebody was going to jump out of the campfire.
Yeah. Well, as Ginny and Paul make out in their cabin, we see footsteps of someone outside. Except it's not who you think. It's Crazy Ralph. Well, someone kills Crazy Ralph.
Well, that didn't last long.
Yeah. Who should have eaten his own mornings.
You're all going to die. Oh, wait, me too.
Oh, wait, it's me. I'm doomed. The next morning, Terry's little dog Muffin goes missing. Jeff and his friend Sandra decide to walk over to Camp Blood, the old Camp Crystal Lake, just so they can see what's there and they can say that, yeah, we did it. We were brave. Well, they climb over the no trespassing sign. We can already see that they're being followed. They find a mutilated dog, must be Muffin, and they assume it's a wild animal that did it. Then they get a jump scare from a cop, who brings them right back to Paul. The cop warns Paul that things have been quiet for 5 years. He thinks the new camp is too close to the old one. He tries to leave the camp, and the cop spots someone suspicious crossing the road, pursues them on foot to a crazy little shack, and that goes poorly for the cop. Victim number 2.
There's a shack out in the woods. The woods where Jason is said to have lived all these years.
Yeah. Well, that evening, some of the counselors go to town.
We never find out what happens to the cop car either.
Oh, he probably disposed of it. Jason did.
Maybe.
Yeah. Some of the counselors go to town for a break, leaving most of the named characters behind. Terry goes looking for Muffin and decides to go skinny dipping instead. She gets out and finds that Scott has stolen her shirt. She chases him into the woods. He lands into an animal trap. Not animal trap.
Well, he might have stepped in that too.
Yeah. Hangs helplessly upside down. Well, she goes and looks for something to cut him down with, and someone else cuts his throat. Terry comes back, screams, and she dies too. Back in town, Ginny sympathizes with poor Jason, living in the woods all these years without his mother. But Ted and Paul insist that he's just a legend. And in the camp, Mark says that he's in a wheelchair because of a motorcycle accident, but he's going to recover. Except soon after he gets a machete to the head, rolls down the stairs into the woods.
He doesn't recover.
He doesn't recover, no. Inside the cabin, Jeff and Sandra are killed as well. You kind of see a pattern here. People just dropping left and right.
One after another.
Yeah, you've seen this kind of thing before. Vicky comes in, finds the bodies along with the killer, except he's not wearing the iconic hockey mask yet. He's wearing a burlap sack over his head. He kills her with a knife.
I mean, where would a guy get a hockey mask out in the woods like that anyway? It doesn't get that cold there wherever this is. Why would there be a hockey mask? There are a lot of burlap sacks, though.
Hockey fan, yeah. Paul and Ginny head back to camp, but it's storming now. They don't find anyone there, which is strange. Then Ginny finds the bed covered in blood, but there are no bodies. The hooded killer jumps on Paul. Ginny runs to hide in the bathroom. That doesn't work out, so she hides in the kitchen, finds Ralph's body. Ginny climbs out the window, runs for the old car, which won't start.
Shocker.
And there's a bit of a hide and seek between the two until she ends up at the old shed, where she finds Mrs. Voorhees' severed head. Ginny puts on Mrs. Voorhees' sweater and pretends to be her, which works for a little while. She raises the machete just as Jason notices the head on the table behind her. Oh, she tricked me. That's not really Mom. Paul comes in out of nowhere and fights with Jason some more. Ginny gets the machete and hacks Jason good, who falls over, probably dead. Yeah, probably.
Never see him again.
Yeah, he's done. Paul wants her to leave, but she pulls Jason's mask off, and they are pretty revolted by what they see, although we don't see it.
Darn it.
Yeah. Paul then carries the injured Ginny back to her cabin, but there's a sound at the door. Has Jason returned already? No, it's Muffin the dog who isn't dead. Yay! But then Jason runs out and grabs Ginny, and we do get a look at his face finally. The next morning, they load Ginny into the back of an ambulance and take her away. And we cut back to the desiccated head in Jason's cabin.
Well, okay. The killer wears a one-eyed burlap sack for a hood, not the later iconic hockey mask. He also seems much more human and limited than in later films. You kind of get the feeling maybe he could have died here. Well, they were still at least trying to be somewhat realistic in this one.
Somewhat.
We don't know for sure that the killer is actually Jason until Ginny finds the head, but then we know it really is him. This one's pretty good. There's not a lot of twists here, but it set the stage for everything that would happen in the next 59 sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not that
Not
many.
many.
I think there's 12.
But anyway, the first one was hugely successful.
And the second one wasn't
they
bad.
Cranked this one out right away. And the poor actress who played Alice understand that she kind of gave up acting because she had a serious stalker issue. The actress in real life.
Yeah.
And
that happens sometimes.
It really traumatized her and caused her troubles. And yeah, she didn't have much of an acting career after this. And she could have. I mean, she was decent and capable.
She was good. She was fine in that.
Yeah, so that's kind of sad. But
this is why we can't have nice things.
Friday the 13th.
Frickin' stalkers.
Part 2.
Yeah. But Part 3 will be coming up before too awful long.
I bet it will.
But not next week. Next week, we have a really disaster of a show planned for you.
There's some disasters.
Bad things are going to happen.
Uh-huh.
Maybe not strictly horror, but, some things just cause phobias. And if it causes a phobia, there's some fear involved.
The 1970s were a dangerous time.
They were. One bad thing
for
after another.
Airplanes and killer bees and earthquakes and big buildings on fire and just pandemonium everywhere.
You mentioned killer bees.
Yeah.
We're not going to watch a killer bee movie.
Well, but they're out there. Okay.
Well, okay, they're out there.
We're not going to talk about them. No, but that's included in the disasters of the 70s.
Planes, trains, and...
Planes, trains, and killer bees.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.